Have you ever asked yourself, how often is too often? I hadn't, at least not for a long time. For years, masturbation was just routine for me. Sometimes it was once a day, sometimes even more. I never really thought twice about it. But one day, out of curiosity, I decided to challenge myself. What if I set a limit? What if I cut it down to 10 times a month or less? That's about 2 to 3 times a week instead of every day. Would it actually make a difference? Or was it just a random number? At first, I didn't expect much. I thought it would be annoying, maybe even frustrating. But something surprising happened when I reduced the frequency. My mind and my body started to change in ways I didn't expect, and that's what I want to share with you today. What happened when I limited myself to 10 times or less a month? When I was doing it every day, it became my default escape. Stress from work? I'd do it. Feeling lonely? Same thing. Bored? Well, you get the point. And afterward, instead of feeling satisfied, I often felt this strange emptiness. Foggy, unmotivated, sometimes even withdrawn. It wasn't that masturbation itself was bad. I truly believe it can be healthy. But for me, it had turned into a way to numb emotions rather than connect with myself. The first thing I noticed when I cut down was that I started regaining my motivation. Neuroscience explains this. Masturbation releases dopamine, the feel-good chemical that drives reward and pleasure. But when you flood your brain with it too often, especially if porn is involved, your system becomes desensitized. It takes more and more to feel the same spark. Reducing the frequency gave my brain a chance to reset. Suddenly, everyday things felt exciting again. Reading a book, exercising, even just talking with friends. It was like my dopamine sensitivity was coming back to life. The second big change was that I felt less drained. There's actually a term some researchers use, sexual exhaustion. A survey published in the Journal of Behavioral Addictions found that frequent sexual activity, especially compulsive activity, was linked to mental fatigue and emotional burnout. That's exactly what I had been feeling. When I reduced the number, I didn't crash as much afterward. Instead, I felt more present, more energized, and less dependent on that quick fix to manage stress. Then came focus. I had more mental clarity. A 2020 study by Imhoff and Zimmer found that people who practice self-regulation in sexual behavior scored higher in emotional clarity and concentration. I experienced that firsthand. I started channeling my restlessness into other outlets, journaling, running, reaching out to a friend. And those things built me up in a way that mindless repetition never did. Now let's talk about physical health. This is where it gets a little tricky. Research does show that masturbation has benefits for both men and women. For men, a Harvard study published in European Urology suggested that ejaculating around 21 times a month was linked to lower prostate cancer risk. But that doesn't mean everyone should aim for that number. It was based on middle-aged men and self-reported data. What it really shows is that too little isn't ideal either. Doctors often recommend regular ejaculation for things like pelvic pain or blood flow issues. For women, masturbation also carries benefits: better pelvic circulation, stronger muscles, reduced cramps, improved sleep, and lower stress. Dr. Lauren Stryker, a clinical professor of obstetrics and gynecology, has pointed out that regular self-pleasure can improve both physical and emotional wellness. Many women report feeling more confident and more connected to their own bodies, and honestly, that's just as important as the physical side. So what did I learn? That moderation really is the sweet spot. Masturbating less than 10 times a month kept me sexually healthy, while also giving me back mental clarity and motivation. I still got the benefits: stress relief, better sleep, self-awareness, without the emotional fog that came with overuse. And the key isn't just the number, it's the intention. There's a huge difference between doing it to connect with myself and doing it to escape something I don't want to feel. Experts like Dr. Alexandra Katahakis emphasize mindful masturbation, being present, reducing reliance on porn, and not attaching guilt or shame to the act. That's what really shifted things for me. Now when I look back, I realized that 10 times or less wasn't magic. It was just enough of a boundary to help me notice my habits, step back, and regain a sense of control. It reminded me that I'm in charge, not my impulses, and that's empowering. So what happens if you only masturbate 10 times or less a month? You may find yourself more motivated, less foggy, and more in tune with your emotions. You'll likely still enjoy the benefits of sexual release, but without the emotional hangover. It's not about one size fits all. It's about awareness, balance, and how you feel mentally, emotionally, and physically. For me, that small experiment turned into a bigger lesson about intentional living. And now I want to ask you, what about you? Would you take a quiz to find out if your habits are healthy or harmful? We're actually thinking of creating an interactive follow-up for that. It would be private, reflective, and hopefully eye-opening. Until then, take care of yourself. And remember, balance is always more powerful than extremes.